Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends all across the globe today, and welcome back to Tiergarten Wilhelmsdorf. So yes, today we are actually getting started with probably my favorite functioning animal in the game. Of course, my favorite has to be the ibex, but my favorite one with like functionality has to be the European badger, strictly because of the burrowing mechanic and just how fun it is to use. So I had the whack idea to make this entire exhibit based around these little Hobbit homes. Now, yes, I understand the Hobbit is, filmed in New Zealand, yada yada yada. But when I saw these burrows, I was like, damn, I want to integrate the Hobbit homes into these. So that's exactly what I did. I went right onto Pinterest. I started to tag like all the Hobbit homes that I could find. And yeah, I had a wild time with this. So one of the things I really wanted to do was go into some pretty heavy theming, as well as decorating it to the oblivion. Yes. So one of the things I wanted to start off with was making the Hobbit home itself and then basing the entire exhibit around that. I usually don't like to do that, base like entire exhibits around a single defining feature within the exhibit. I usually like to have my exhibit process be managed organically, and you can really tell that with like the rest of the like builds in this entire zoo. But for this one, I really wanted to highlight these little burrows. I thought it'd be a really cute idea. So you can use like the stamp mechanic in the terrain, I guess you could kind of say. I don't really know. The terrain stamp, that makes a lot more sense. I probably should have said that to begin with. But I used that and kind of smoothened it out to give this a little bit more character and give it the iconic like mound look that these burrows tend to have. Not burrows, the Hobbit homes. Now, with that being said, just going through the rest of this and adding as many tiny details as possible, because we have a lot of awesome new pieces with the European pack, and I just could not wait to use all of them. But still, I'm still using those North African pieces. They're extremely useful. But look at this, the little lantern. Oh my gosh, it was so fun to use that. It was so fun just to like plop that right over there. And of course, one of the things I wanted to do was get those iconic circular Hobbit doors, but I just couldn't do that in this small area. It just wasn't gonna happen to have these burrows functional. So I actually opt to not do that over there, but I do have a guest kind of Hobbit hole, if that makes sense. You'll see it towards the end of the video itself, but I really want to integrate them right there, so you'll see that towards the end. But carrying on the theming from the Lynx exhibit, because this is following through like the whole fairy tale kind of literature kind of area, so you can start to see the two areas start to take place. We have the classic area, and then we also have the fairy tale kind of like more children's-ish kind of area. I feel like that's a really good separation to have between the two, and I don't know, it's just a really fun thing to build in. And usually I like to build a lot more realism, but just taking it a step back and doing these more kind of wacky builds, I love doing that. It's always so much more rewarding because you get to really flex those creative muscles. And after some points in time, I'm kind of like burnt out with all the realism. I'm like, okay, listen, I know this wouldn't really fly in a German zoo, but damn it, this is Leaf making it. I'm gonna make this the best damn Hobbit themed exhibit possible. So I think it actually came out extremely well, and you could see like the actual Hobbit hole area for the humans right over there. So that's a really nice inclusion to have right there, as well as adding as much mulch as possible. I love doing these small little planted areas, especially in a zoo like this, because I don't know, I feel like they would really take their gardening seriously over here and try and make this the most upkept zoo possible. So we'll see that a lot with this area over here. And one of the things I love doing was adding these African air plants from the base game actually as a way to kind of line up the fencing for this exhibit, and using the cowberry bushes to give it a little bit more texture on the top, just because I wasn't really able to manipulate the terrain as well as I could. So I used the cowberry bushes to give it a bit more of a grassy texture, and furthermore I just put a bunch of plants and flowers on top of it so it stays a lot more bright. Now, one of the things I really did want to do over here was integrate some more, like livelihood kind of items. I know the badgers wouldn't be able to use them, but I do some implied like pots and pans and stuff. I thought they came out really cute. And I used the new faux rock pieces over here to make this little bit of a cobblestone pattern. And it came out exceptionally well. We continue that throughout the entire exhibit. I love how cute this came out. It was so fun to make. And the good thing about this is that we just doubled the same burrow over for the other one on the left. So, you know what? No harm, no foul. Here's a little pot and pan that I did over here. And these new faux egg pieces. Oh my gosh. These are exactly what I wanted. They're small, implied, and perfect. Now, I know everyone would have liked birds and reptiles to actually use eggs in-game, but the fact that they're now pieces is really amazing, and I feel like they really ripped off Nick's Safari Pack when it came to this entire pack, because so many elements from the Europe pack are found in the Safari Pack as well. But you know what, it's really good just to have both options. I think it's really funny when it comes to that. Now, moving on here, I actually am doing a little bit of a burrow. I wanted to repeat what I did for the lynx over there with the badger. I think the badger played like the drum or something. I honestly forget what it even played in the story, but we'll integrate that later down the line. One of the things I really did want to carry on through this entire zoo was having those animals be represented by their instruments. So you may remember we had Lumi's trumpet back in the Lynx exhibit. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That one was probably one of my favorite habitats to put together. It's like a few days after I made it, and I just want to keep making more and more Lynx exhibits. It was so fun to actually go through and make that happen. But with that being said, I remember in one of my last episodes, I was like, yeah, I want to do like the bright yellow thatch on these roofs, because I feel like it would look better. It doesn't. You guys can see me throw it on here in just a little bit. It looks obtrusive and so distracting. So I actually opt to use the South American thatch once again, because it fits the vibe so much more. Anyways, here we are actually using more of that cobblestone texture. It was just really easy to integrate that throughout this entire exhibit, and doing some custom fences. One of the things I did want to keep in mind is the fact that these badgers are very crafty animals, and I did not want them to escape, so I actually fence off the mounds themselves so they're not able to get on top. Yeah, it would have been cute to see them like roaming on top of them, but no, I said to heck with that. I don't want them going up there. That'd be bad. So we actually throw some fences to separate them from the rest of the mounds, and it actually looks really cute because it feels so much more like a planted village, and that's exactly what I want with this little fairy tale area. I'm not sure where we'll throw the salamander, because I'm already working on the fallow deer exhibit, and it's coming out pretty good, I have to say so myself. I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. It needs a little bit more work, but I'm sure you guys will hear it from me in the speed build itself, how much of a pain it is to put together. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about our little badger friends. So this is one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to get one of those circular doors that, you see in all the Hobbit homes. So I actually used the East Asia, decorative piece. I don't really know what you would call that, and I just make a circular door out of that. Not exactly circular, because I still needed it to be kind of, usable, quote unquote. So I do kind of have it be a little bit more rectangular towards the bottom right there. You can see me actually fill out those holes in a little bit, but I think in the end it actually turns out very well. One of the things I do give it is a little bit of a peeping window. It's not functional, of course, but listen, you guys can forgive me on that. It's always an open door, though. So that's one of the things I did want to stress when it came to this. It's always going to be open, so it doesn't really need to be closed. You know how it goes, whatever. Now, adding the rest of the kind of door frame over here, it was a little bit of a challenge trying to get this to work, because circular doors aren't the most practical things in the world, I have to admit. While they would be amazing to have in real life, they're just not practical, guys, I have to admit. So getting that was a little bit of a pain, but following through with that, it wasn't really the worst thing in the world. Adding the dirt mound up here was a little bit of a pain, just trying to make that all work all together. That was probably one of the most difficult things to get to work, but in the end, the actual human hobbit hole actually comes out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. We kind of do some interesting things with it. We make it a little bit more distinct from the actual Badger one itself. So listen, you get a little bit of diversity in here. I think it comes out pretty neat. Of course, using the bricks over here because, I don't know, they just feel exceptionally fanciful. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But also using that flagstone right below because it is such a useful piece. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to keep on using that throughout my entire lineup of builds. Hell, I'd be even surprised if I don't go back to Sugar Pine and rework a lot of that stuff to include it because it's extremely helpful. Also, as I was saying before, going back here and working on that godforsaken door frame, it was a little bit of a pain to get to work out, but in the end it actually looks pretty good. Here I am just covering up the rest of that door right there, just making sure it looks all nice and snazzy. And they actually gave us door hinges, of all things, in the new update. So that was really fun to integrate those as well as making the interior for this. It's nothing too crazy. I do want to go back and clutter it up, because when you do look at like those Hobbit homes, it feels very fanciful, it feels very cluttered. I guess it's like cottagecore is like the term that the kids are using nowadays. So that's kind of the vibe that I want to do with this entire area, cottagecore. But we'll continue that on later down the line. I thought it was pretty cute nonetheless. Adding those cowberry bushes at the top once again because they look amazing. And my go-to filler is the Bengal bamboo. It always looks amazing. I should probably use the fountain bamboo more because the color matches that a lot better. But with that being said, continuing that on throughout the entire build. And also getting to work on the rest of the foliage in here. Yeah, can you believe Leaf isn't saving the foliage for last for once? Yeah, so I actually did just want to pop back in here and get the rest of the foliage done. But we continue that later. I really did want to finish up the framework for this, like, Hobbit hole. So I add a little bit of an A-frame right over there, and I try and mimic it as much as possible as to the other ones. I think it comes out really well in the end. It just feels very, very cozy, and that's all I want to get out of this. I want this to be a nice, cozy build, and that's exactly what's important over here. So moving on throughout this entire thing, adding a little bit of a lantern right there because I thought that'd be really cute, and also adding another kind of like bump out with the bricks just because it looks pretty nice in the end. I don't know, I felt like I really need to frame this build a little bit more. And adding some windows, of course, a little bit custom, not really functional, but listen, I feel like you guys can forgive me on that. We'll just pretend it's a spare room, am I right? Now, adding the rest of the mulch over here, trying to make this area feel nice and planted as possible, adding the door back, and giving this interior a little bit more of a difference by adding that cobblestone. It's not exactly the brick that we got in the DLC, but listen, it works exceptionally well for this little build right there. And also framing off the rest of the habitat gates as well, just to kind of have this feel a little bit more structured. Usually when you have like these high theme pieces, you wouldn't even theme like areas that the guests can't see. So that's my excuse to cut a corner or two and hide that off with a nice simple fence. Now moving on through here, I wanted to have this little bit of a rafter. So that would be exactly where I would throw like the rest of the props, like the sacks, the baskets, the even some eggs probably. They would keep some eggs up there, I don't really know. But I thought that'd be a really cute thing to have, and also cornering that off over there. So it does look good from that angle. You can kind of make it out from the other viewing areas, so I did at least want to have that side be a little bit more presentable. Now moving on through here, just adding the rest of the foliage, adding these new, actually no, those are the cowberry bushes, never mind. Adding these baskets all over because the baskets are really nice. And one of the things I actually do over here is use these North African wood pieces to give this build a little bit more structure on the interior. Have these frames going all across the board over here, just making sure it feels a little bit more kept together, if that makes sense. Just making sure it feels nice and cozy on the inside. Having the beams go across the roof a little bit so it feels a bit more kept up. And yeah, that's essentially what I do in there, and I think we're on to like the rest of the build. I do apologize if there are some cuts where you don't see progress happen. Usually it's a lot more tedious stuff, like doing exterior foliage work for larger areas. I know you guys don't really want to watch that, and in order to keep these videos a bit shorter, listen, I know the sugar pine episode was an hour long. I apologize on that, but hopefully it was a nice little kickoff to the entire series. But here we actually are adding the foliage, as I was saying before, just keeping this area nice and bright. One of the things I really did want to highlight in here was the use of foliage, and it really helps highlight the badgers as well. We haven't really talked about the badgers all that much, but the badgers are black and white, so having all these colors surrounding them, it highlights them even more. So I use a variety of different colors of like greens, purples, pinks, and even some whites to bring some more attention to the badgers. And I feel like that all works pretty well in the end. And I even add a little bit of a pond for them because I realized I did not give them any water. But we're almost at the end of the video. I do want to give a quick little say in here. We still do have that giveaway running right now. So if you guys are interested, definitely do check that out. It's on the Ibex video. I am giving away 2 copies of the European DLC, which will be revealed, I believe, the night of the 22nd. You have to check that video for all the details, but be sure to check that out for how to participate and stuff like that. I'm very excited to get this game to all of you guys. Not the game, but the DLC. What do I look like? I'm running a charity? No, I'm running a DLC giveaway. But adding the rest of the fences over there, just making sure this feels nice and cozy in here as well, and just generally keeping the area nice and prim and proper. I even give a secondary staff access back there as well, just because it was an open area, and I feel like having multiple staff gates in this exhibit would be a beneficial thing to have. Maybe we can sneak an exhibit to the side of that can work as a dual use for that habitat gate. I don't know. I really want to have an emphasis on like realism in this zoo. I know I'm not really the most realistic builder in here, but I definitely do want to have a little bit of an emphasis on the kind of stuff like that. So making good looking interiors and whatnot is something I really do want to try and have, but also making sure that door fits in nicely right there. I frame it up pretty nice, and also adding the rest of, like, you know, the molding. I guess that's really not the term. Curbs, that's exactly the term I was looking for. Adding the rest of the temperate rock curbs, this is exactly why I want to carry on with the zoo, because it frames it so much nicely, and just having these unadulterated paths, it's not really the best look, so kind of framing them in with some custom curbs is something that I do want to get used to going forward with here. Also, the curbs with the new path, those are amazing. I won't even need to do custom curbs when it comes to those. So I'll definitely have that going on through like the Main Street area. Definitely do keep your eyes out for that. But yeah, just generally keeping this area looking nice, prim, and proper. And I do go over and use like our general temperate brush foliage over here as well. I just copy that from the other section, but you guys will see that in the B-roll, which we will be coming up to in just a little bit. I do want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate all the support on the channel. Literally all the support that you guys give is amazing. Again, another huge shout out to Frontier for providing this key a little bit early to me. Always does warm my heart. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you everyone at home for even watching my silly little videos. I do appreciate all of you guys stopping by today. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow in the next one. And with that being said, I hope you guys have the most wonderful of wonderful days. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye now.